All right, let's do it. To it. It's the show that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friends. Welcome back to the fastest freaking show in MLB absolutely anywhere with your boy. With your fucking boy, Big Johnny Stud, coming to you worldwide. Brooklyn, New York, as always, coming out that damn chair as always. I tell you, Tasmania Devil, out the cage. Blah, blah, blah. Have I firmly lost my fucking mind on what it's all about? Follow me up on Twitter at JohnLaghezza. Flow sharper than a razor. Same handle over on Substack, where all your dreams come true. $2 a week, get your 5 pounds of shit in a 2-pound box. We'll be showing off some of the tools for the preseason stuff. You get all the damn things you could ask for. All the advanced statistics and formatted. I'm going to show you some of that stuff as well. We're waiting for a Digger draft to full. I think we're waiting for 4 or 5 more people right now. So maybe just a couple of minutes. I guess no better time than the present to check out some of those tools that I was talking about. If you could see you up on the video, podcast people, shoot over to the Twitter handle to check out the stream. Nice little sampler of what you get, the poo-poo platter. You know, for example, just to show you how these things work, I have it set in alphabetical order. You could set by ADP. You could set by stat, of course. But when I'm going to draft them, that's what I want to show off, the speed of the tools. You know, being able to make the quick determination. Now, again, in a draft room, you can sort by ADP to keep guys close. I'm normally looking at one at a time. You know, for example, how about my boy Nick Lodolo? Right, Nick Lodolo, right, good pitcher, young, kind of a tough park, but the ADP is really low. So some mixed signals on the macro stuff. Check it out, 155 2/3 from Lodolo. Gave you a 3.3, 106 ERA whip combo. That whip combo really strong. Expected ERA at 3.4, Sierra at 3.5, and that's right, the MLB MA indicator. That's my custom indicator that you get every day with the world famous pitching sheets, 7 days a damn week. Test it out. Better than all the other indicators. Tested better than Sierra, better than expected, and FIP, and all that other shit. So I'm looking forward to another season with that on the belt, but my indicator likes Lodolo even more than the norm. Doesn't overuse the fastball, which you like, and it's good. Over to your disciplinary stuff, and I think at the same time, as we're analyzing Lodolo, not only getting a concept of like number, which numbers and why. And I think that's part of the other positive effect of the tools here, because I think templating is really important, because we want to have a consistent kind of basis that we're working off of. And then, aside from that, the more you do things, the more the muscle memory builds up. And to help you draw, again, what we think. So, right, innings pitched, earned run and whip, your kind of macro exteriors. Then I like to look at indicators to give you an idea of what the machines think. Then over to discipline, you could see everything just neatly labeled and formatted for the OCD crowd. You could tell, takes one to know one. But it's not just K and BB. There are, indiscriminate morons and, unnamed prop queens out there, let's call them, that will cite K rate and walk rate as if like, yes, it's telling, but it lacks the nuance and context that comes pouring at your fucking nose hole when you roll with us. Is it swinging strike? Is it cold stuff? What is the ball rate like? I think right off the bat, that's really the big message, As metrics become better, it doesn't mean we need to use more. We want to be using better ones. And anyone citing walk rate without ball rate? I mean, listen, no one ever accused these people of being fucking smart. They're all fucking grifters, I actually care about helping people because I actually care about helping myself, So you want to be looking at ball rate back to Lodolo to get that spinning plate. Really excellent ball rate. Now, again, whenever we introduce new numbers, I guess it's important to frame it. So ball rate average is probably right around 36. I used to describe it in the show. If you're new, welcome aboard. Bienvenidos. You know what I mean? We cover every single game, every single day. Really diving in the weeds. No one doing it quite like us. I don't think anyone literally is doing it like us. I don't think there is a game-by-game, detailed, granular breakdown. So on the show, I would often talk about gauging ball rate like a high, medium, and low setting on both ends. So 36 being the standard. So once you go up, 37 is like, yeah, it's high, but 38, 39 and above, you know, that high, medium, low, click, click, and extreme. And then the other way, too, where 35 is really good and 34 is even better, and anything 33 or below is elite. So we're getting to tie in Lodolo. That 33.8 ball rate, 68 first strike, 36 chase, 85 zone contact. That's a much better and more detailed look at building like a tapestry for the disciplinary bins. Right? You only need to listen to us for about fucking 5 minutes to know exactly, you know, what you're dealing with. We're making analysis and betting a high IQ again when we come out swinging. So again, you could have ball rate and walk rate is fine. But how do we get there? And I think when it comes to hitters, that's maybe even more important. Because hitters get dinged for K rates. Oh, he strikes out. But does he chase? Like, does he lose in the zone? Is he swinging at fucking strikes? Doesn't that matter? What does he do when he makes contact? So, you know, just be careful who the fuck you're listening to. So Lodolo really checks out across the board. All the disciplinary stuff, right? You're getting ahead. You're throwing strikes. He keeps the ball down. You can see the elevation bin. And then over the hard hit before splits. And I think back to the templating, that's how you do it. The macro production to the disciplinary approach, elevation, contact quality, in essence, starting with the things that are most in the pitcher's control and then, you know, veering away from that. Since we're still waiting for a few people to jump in the draft, I want to pop the hood on Lodolo. I'm going to head over to the Savant page for this. But again, in just a second, to give you an idea of really what's going on under the hood, in essence. Just two more people. We're going to kick off the draft in just a second. Underdog, Best Ball. They don't pay me. Maybe they should. Take these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Before we move on from Lodolo, I always like to look at the arsenal also and see if we're buying what the young man is selling. So he actually goes with a curveball first, which I really like in today's day and age. 255, X-slug, 40% whiff rate. That's a money pitch. Then he goes four-seam sinker, right? Those are your strikes to get ahead. Sinker to get the ground balls. And then he has a change-up to righties only, which is okay. It's gotten hit pretty hard. He gets some whiffs, decent out pitch. But it's really curve, four-seam sinker. All right, just one more person to go. I'm going to shoot over to the draft board. You'll see that up on the screen. You don't have to see my fat Fargan face. Waiting for one person. We'll see where I get slotted. Let's talk about the setup here. So again, you know, aside from all the data, I have sortable and tiered 5x5 ranks. That's the top 525. I'll also be circling back with articles that you get. It's been every day or every other day. As many as I could fucking do. There's probably a dozen articles out for paid subscribers as well. New players to the hitter pool, which I think is important, right? When you bring stats over, there are going to be rookies. We looked at Derek Hardy and the prospect people in the space to show us what our expectations might be. I did the best 6 starters in each league, Again, really important. Nobody makes it through a fucking season with 5 starters. And then also, something else we'll be talking about quite a bit as the season progresses. As wonderful as a job as Jason Martinez and all the fine people at Fangraphs do. I have a lot of friends over there. Excellent work, gold standard, right? He doesn't know, who's going to start. He does the best that he can with the information he has. And I'm sure he's even using historicals and stuff and coach records. I'm sure of it. Right? So this is not a slight or an attack, but it is really understanding how important they've become and how they move the markets and how much people rely on those roster resource pages. Make sure you're checking them out. Fangraphs.com, shoot on over to the roster resource tab, and they have every fucking thing, man. It's just the best. Okay, it looks like we have the 5 pick, which I actually like. I've had a lot of like 1s and 12s. I'm going to try and draft basically on auto. Something else you get when you sign up, of course, underdog specific ranks. You know what? Let me show that so you can see if we have any digger honks out there. It's the fucking best, man. So that you can look up on your screen. I color coded everything for underdog. I consistently, like every day or two, I'll update ADP. Those are site projections, right? It says site projections. Those are their site projections with the most updated ADP, which really matters, and then our rank on the side. And of course, you could sort, but more importantly, you can download and upload this, or download and re-rack, however, wherever you think I missed, and then put it into the fucking program. It takes like a fucking second. It's unbelievable. It really is. Just the tech is fucking really great. They're the best ball goats, All right, so now we're back on track. We're on the board at the 5. Man, for me, it's like Acuna and Carroll. I haven't really drafted as much Acuna. I've drafted more Carroll, so I'm going to go the other way and go with Acuna. I'll let him pop off the board. Now, as far as Ronald goes, another kind of shortened season. 412 PAEs, he bat .290. 74 runs, just 42 ribs, 21 homers, 9 steals. The run production took a monster hit because the Braves kind of stunk. I think a lot of that bounces back. Braves lineup right now projecting pretty fucking strong. Acuna, Olsen, Profar, Baldwin, Riley, Yastrzemski, Albies, Harris, and Mauricio Dubon, because they lost Kim. So Braves should be back as a pretty decent offense for 2026. Got Acuna bat .290 with a .274 XBA. I'm going to actually put that up. I'm going to try and get in the habit of, when I'm doing my scrolling, right, I could show you. Now, this would have been one, if I would have scanned by ADP, I would have had Carroll next to Acuna. I could have lined them up. Now, an underdog is very tough because you only get 30 seconds. In other drafts where you get 90 seconds or even long-form drafts, it's the absolute best because I'll literally move guys and change the fucking ADP just so I could sort them next to each other or whatever. So for hitters, again, very similar. The template's a little different, but the thinking is the same. I have all the counting categories, then your averages, right? He survived on a good BABIP. He had a crazy OBP because he had a monster walk rate. 518 slug with a 552X. Love that. 935 OPS. 228 ISO. This is Ronald Acuna. 403 WOBA. 407 expected. So all the expected stuff, validating everything we saw. Acuna is a good example of where idiots that use fucking strikeout rate are going to mislead you and going to have bad analysis. Anyone that does data has heard the saying, garbage in, garbage out, right? You use bullshit, you're going to get bullshit. So yes, Ronald Acuna strikes out. But the swing miss is not bad. The zone contact is really low. But his chase rate is elite. So we don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck. Why? Because of the hard hit stuff. Now, granted, the elevation stuff was not great for Acuna last year. But 52 hard hit, 495 ex-Wobacon. Again, on the power, you'll see I have ex-Woba and isolated for contact. That's your truest damage metric. Again, just really kind of bringing the smoke. Right? This is the shit that matters. So Acuna just kind of doing all the fucking things. He should be fine. Roto fantasy players may be worrying about steals a little bit. That's not really a concern in this game. So with the big OPS, Acuna should be more than fine. I mean, obviously, he's got a chance to be the number one player in that entire game. So we're on the board again. You can see it's been like mostly outfielders, which is going to be the case. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, I got to choose. We'll have a little discussion topic going on here. I wanted to choose between my three kind of favorite second round outfielders. That's Langford, Duran, and Armstrong. So let's take a look at those three. And I thought I remember Langford coming out on top. So I went with him. What did I say? Langford. Oh, and Duran was the other one. Churio had already gone. So if I would have, if I would have remembered the fucking players I was looking for, I would have had a much easier time. But I'm going to bring up the three of them and show you. It's really helpful when you start lining up players. If you look up at the screen, I put them next to each other. Now I'm highlighting them. Armstrong, Langford, Duran, kind of similar outputs. Armstrong had the better power, best slug. But like the OPS wasn't great because he probably has the worst approach. He chases like fucking crazy. I like Langford's approach. I also have the air pull stuff. I forgot to mention it. I love the pull and air pull from Langford and Armstrong. Now Armstrong just went. So I've got Duran up next. I'm going to come down with him. But you can see on the sheet, right, I kind of forgot to tack it on to the hitter stuff, right? So hitters are your averages, discipline, how to build a disciplinary basket. Then elevation, remember, not all fly balls created equal because we need to run infield flies. I have that. We want to know not just about pull, but air pull. We have that. Both hard hit rates. People often ask, what's the difference? Incoming message. Hard hit rate on Fangraphs is a part of a proprietary algorithm. It has hang time in it. There's also a piece of a human element. StatCast, Savant, for example, does not. That's a raw 95-mile-an-hour metric. Just raw dog in the fucking gun. Which is better? I don't know. Turn off the lights, I'll fucking glow. You have to. What's better? Both are better. We want to know how frequently they're hitting the ball hard. Savant. While also understanding that is 94.9 not hard hit. And is a player that always hit the ball 95.1 and 100% hard hit rate kind of fails you, right? So again, nuance and context. Context and nuance. Pouring out of your nose. Bring a fucking hanky when you rock with the Corked Stat Show, always. And then again, air pull. If you pull, there's going to be guys. Jose Ramirez comes to mind. Does not have the big bow rate. Does not have the big hard hit rate. But you get the air pull. That can get you home runs. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat without scratching its fucking asshole. Now back to the task at hand when I was mentioning the two types of hard hit rates. You want to know them both. You want to know them both. If I had to pick one, it's probably Fangraphs because the human element really helps. Now, I've got Acuna, Langford, Duran. Keep the outfield train rolling. Give me Cody Bellinger. Let's take a look at Cody, and then I'll put you back on the draft board. Last time I just let the draft board rock, and I'm not really showing everybody why, this shit matters so much. Why is it so... It makes it more fun. You feel like you're really understanding the decision-making process a lot better, Cody's back in the Bronx, 656 PAs, about 272, 89, 98 runs and ribs, 29 homers, 13 steals, 2 caught. XBA a little worse than the average. X-slug a little worse than a slug. Why? We already know why. Because he plays in a fucking joke park for the Yankees, and he's a fucking pull god. Now, his approach is fantastic. 7.5 swing and strike, just 23 CSW, 14 K to 9 walk. Love that. Plus, he's always in the air, 48 fly ball, 45 pull, 20.5 air pull. Let's put some of that context on the air pull stuff, right? So, pull rates you want north of 40. Air pull you want like north of 15 is good. North of 20 is fucking incredible. You'll see that the stuff that I mentioned, including X-Wobicon, right, that pure damage metric, more fucking messages. Let's go. I'm hitting fucking mid-season form right now, kid. All right, hold on. Quick break on X-Wobicon lesson. I want to try to remember that before I make my pick. Now, I don't always go 5 outfielders. I do normally start with at least 3. Since I got Belly, I'm going to go with Jazz Chisholm and kind of get the Yankee stack and hope these guys fucking stay healthy again. In best ball, you're playing for a win. So let's get back to the Woba and ex-Woba lesson, and I'll be able to show you this now, right? So again, how this stuff matters. Turns out Cody Bellinger is a perfect example. Okay, so one of the most common mistakes that people make as they begin to try and incorporate more advanced statistics into their analysis are expected stats, which of course we all fucking love, right? Who doesn't love a good fucking ex-Woba? I love the smell of ex-Wobicon in the morning, you know what I mean? The problem is you gotta understand what these fucking things are telling you. Part of ex-Woba is the OBA, not to be confused with the BOBA, but the OBA is on base average. It's going to include walks. So that's why I always make sure to isolate for contact. Again, I straight up, that fucking column formatted alone is worth the fucking $8 a month to prep for fantasy baseball because it fucking matters. Okay? So you'll notice that Cody Bellinger, right? 7.5 barrel, not great. 5.5 barrel per PA, not great. 102.7, 90th percentile EV. I've got all the goodies. Not great. 330 X-Woba. Whoa, Woba of average. This guy's the man. He kills the fucking ball. People make the mistake of using X-Woba as a damage metric. Now, oh man, we're just piling up. Listen, X-Woba is probably the single best descriptor of a hitter, like quality-wise. But if we're talking damage, if we're talking straight damage, we got to be talking X-Wobicon. Now, I provide every hitter with 5 PAs, and I have one that shrunk down to 100 PAs because I think it more properly reflects the formatting, which is 90th and 10th percentile. Shout out Rob DiPietro for that one. So let's look at the top of the X-Woba board. Best, there's going to be a lot of overlap, but not always, right? Not always. Best hitters as far as X-Woba, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Ohtani, George Springer. I mean, man, hard not to fucking have that pop up. And he's got the 480 X-Con, so he's no slouch. Schwarber, Seager, Ben Rice, Jahmai Jones. How about that for a backup name? Ronald Acuna, Jordan Alvarez, Kendall Marte. Why stop at Marte? Why every single other hitter, besides even Jordan Alvarez, who I think is going to come back in a major way, was over 450 X-Wobicon, Kendall Marte down at 430, Vlad Guerrero down at 420, because it penalizes you for lift, right? Ground ball guys. All right, we're on the clock again. No, I'm going to keep the Yankee stack going. I already made a pitch for Ben Rice. Let's take a look at Rice under the hood. See if we're buying what the young man is selling. I know I am, but 530 PAs for Rice. They said they're going to look to get him in more. 138 games, about 255, but a 299 XBA. That's a massive fucking spread. Massive fucking spread. He had a 271 BABIP, right? I always like to provide all these stats that we think of as kind of luck or lucky. Again, BABIP on its own is not luck or lucky. When you build yourself the tapestry, which I did for you, it's going to make it very easy to understand who's lucky and who's not. So back to Ben Rice. He had a 499 slug, but a 581 expected. I don't know if anyone had a split like that. 244 isolated slugging, 410 xWOBA, 133 WRC plus. I'm going to leave it highlighted on the screen. 19K to only 9 walk. I mean, for a youngster, these are like really fucking crazy numbers to be combining that type of disciplinary approach. Remember, he's only 26, but he's still, has what, 700 career plate appearances? He's got 33 fucking bombs. Not bad. Okay, we're on the clock again. And I'm wondering if maybe it's time. Now, remember, I have no pitchers. We're 6 picks in, and I have 0 pitchers. And I hope he doesn't get snatched. I don't want to put it in the fucking universe right now. That Logan Gilbert is like 10 picks past ADP and would be a fantastic 7th round pick. He's going to go if this gets autoed. And the winner is, nope, Gilbert falls to us. Gilbert is a wonderful fucking ace. Let's wrap up on Rice really quick. So the damage stuff is great. The approach is great. The lift is great. The pull is great. 47 pull, 21 air pull, 56 hard hit, 410 xWOBA, 475 xWOBAcon, plus 57 barrels. One of those other things we like to look for. This is fucking crazy, yo. How is this not worth fucking $2 a week? You want to look at total barrels, you want to look at home runs. I have home runs and barrels, and it's not a true homer to barrel conversion rate, but you do want to know how many of that rate, right? How many homers did they hit? How many barrels did they hit? That average is meaningful, okay? And you can see Rice was well below average. That's the blue. And he was well below average on the 100 PAs, which tells you he's way below average. That number to frame it for you is probably in the low, like 50s. Some guys run really hot. Then you want to look at, like, pull, right? And there might be reasons. There might not be. But we love Ben Rice. Let's shoot over to Logan Gilbert, my last pick. Show you what we love about Gilbert. He's coming off injury. We gave you 131 innings, 344 ERA with a 103 whip, 286 Sierra. My indicator had him at 296. Smidge under the expected at 303. 32K to only 6 walk. That's a nearly 27 KBB. 15 and a half swing and strike, 31 CSW. On a 34 ball, 64 first strike. I mean, he's got the goods, man. He's got the goods. Plus, he's a bully. So if you follow the show, then you know what that's about. I always joke that's one of those things. You be at a bar somewhere, and if you heard somebody mention it, you know they're fucking one of us. One of us. One of us. Like, there's just no way around it. You know you're home. So when your first strike and your chase rate is over 100, right? He gets up, he gets ahead, makes you chase his bullshit. He's a fucking bully. So love what we see from Gilbert. He wins in the zone. He even gets ground balls. Now, the home runs are a bit of an issue, but the home run to fly ball was really high, and the hard hit rates are not crazy. I think that'll probably correct. I like Gilbert to bounce back really as a ace type next year. Okay, so you've got the draft board back, so you can kind of track along with how this draft has been going. I'm on the clocky. Oh, tough decision here. But again, I like to play. You know what? I want to solidify my infield a little bit more. I'm going to go with my guy, William Contreras. I think Contreras is due for a massive bounce back. 659 PAs. Last year, about 260, 89 runs, 76 ribs, 17 homers, and 6 steals. Again, right? All it takes is one control F, and you're in the money. You're now right in line with everything you need to know about this guy. Great approach, takes his walks, beautiful approach. A little few too many ground balls last year, but he hits the fucking piss out of the ball. And I wonder if maybe that felt like a little bit of a desperation play. The player I had on top of my queue is actually Jacob deGrom. I had mentioned playing for upside, but I have so much DeGrom. He's going to pick 90. He could be the best pitcher or one of the best pitchers. I think Contreras gets back to what we saw. This kind of career 275, really 280 hitter that can get you, lots of home runs because the barrels are there. The zone contact was at a career best. The swing and strike rate was at a career best. I love the ballpark. And we love Contreras, even though he's a catcher, because he's one of those guys that can get you those beautiful DH plate appearances. Now, there's been a major shift. I think we had something to do with it. Again, I don't take all the credit, but, we're one of the movers and shakers in this kind of industry here. When it comes to it, we're doing, that are originating projections and doing, ranks and all that stuff. You could see there were, 3 fucking pitchers in the first, 5 rounds or something. So you really got to get your hitters early, but I don't want to get bullied. I want the guys I want. So Joey Ryan is there. I'm going to go with Ryan. Get my second big pitcher. Now, let's take a look at this board. I zoomed up because I wanted to give him a show, but let's recap and then go back. So again, it was 4 pitchers in 4 rounds. Then just another 3, and the next round another 3, and the one after that. So just 12 rounds through 100 picks. 12 pitchers, through 100 picks. Look at all those outfielders. Then all the infielders start to go, and you realize that when we're talking top-tier quality bats, guys you could really rely on and sink your teeth into when you compare it to supply in particular. It gets brutal out there. It really does. I have a ton of pitchers I like late, but it doesn't mean I want my entire best ball staff to be 4 and 5 starters, and that's a mistake I've made in the past that I want to correct. And it could be just as simple as drafting Gilbert and Ryan, right? You have legit ace SP1, SP2 types. Legit guys that could go out there and be a top 15 SP on any given week, depending on the 2 starts, but guys that have all the fucking goodies, get strikeouts, can go 6 innings. Something I might like about Ryan Moore with Baldelli out the door. Distance for the Twins this year. But both these guys can get you the QSW, which we want with the Ks. Now I'm going to back off pitching. I should probably pay a little more attention to this fucking draft now, because it's getting brutal, and even at pick 115, the outfielders kind of suck. You're more looking to pair with pieces that you have, so that's what I'm gonna look to do. I've got Grisham and Rafaela in the queue because I have Duran and then I have the Yankee stack. Rafael is coming off back-to-back 1,000-point seasons in best ball. He's more like a bottom-of-the-order guy. If I want them both, I probably have to take Rafael first. But I just have I need the Grisham stuff at top of the order. If you're going to be hitting in front of Aaron Judge, there's just potential for a jillion runs. So right now we have Gilbert and Joe Ryan. Good anchor. I'm going to fill this in with all goodies at the end. You know what? This will bring us into the roster construction, I think. Infield, Chisholm, Rice, William, Contreras. So we have 3 guys on good offenses every single day, players top third of the order. But it's not enough, man. What infielders are on top of the board now, you ask? Jeremy Pena, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson, Simeon, Story, Murakami, Albies. My favorite play. I'm just jumping the fucking world for Hunter Goodman this year. Rafael went the very next pick. So I'm asked out on him. Dylan Cruz is starting to really slide in drafts. I thought he was going a little bit too high. he was going at 115. Now he's available at 125. I'm staying within myself. I'll figure it out. I want my guys. I know I said I was going to push back on the pitching. But anytime Yuri Perez has been available at 125, I'm taking him. But maybe I should be paying more attention to these last couple outfielders. They're fucking brutal, but again, that's another mistake I've made in the past of forcing this positional stuff and just taking guys way out of order that I think makes sense. So, yeah, stick with my guns. Getting my guy Yuri. And I guess let's talk some construction. So, in Underdog, or any of their best balls, mind you, all the ranks work for everything, by the way, that you get with all these stats and the articles and the uploadable stuff, plus the exclusive audio. There's a dozen podcasts to go with the dozen articles to go with all the other fucking shit that we get. What else can we pile on this fucking... Not to mention your fucking biological clock is ticking. So there's 3 positional designations. You see on the screen, orange, purple, green, infield, outfield, pitcher. Which probably explains, the demand as we see it on its face. There's only 3 outfielders on a team. And some of them, it's kind of split work platoon. In fact, I feel like a good amount of them probably split in platoon. So how many of those are there? Are there 15? Are there 15 platoon outfielders? Are there 20? Does 90 go down to 70? And then how many of those 70 legit starting outfielders are best ball viable producers? Suddenly this field begins to shrink to a point where, unless you have a really good late outfield plan, which I do not, I'm admitting, I do not. Boy, get at least. I'm overpaying, I'm overpaying you. Well, man, I shouldn't have said that because it's not true. I mean, it's wrong. It's not something you want to be doing, but it's also not true. I'm paying... Well, that was pretty sick. I'm paying premiums where it's a fair market value, right? So the things that cost a premium, but that's what they cost. And unless you pay that, you can't get them. Where I think you get in trouble is when you're overpaying for Dylan Cruz. Right? Guys that you're paying because you needed the outfielder and not necessarily what you thought you might get from him. All right, my guy Goodman fell. He's one of my most solid, outfield pieces. Goodman gave you 579 PAs, hit 31 bombs, 91 ribs. He's obviously going to be playing in cores. Average was a little bit better than the XBA, but he's playing in cores. 843 RPS, 243 ISO. The disciplinary stuff is not great. He's a little bit too aggressive. Right, his K is met with the swinging strike. But he lifts, he pulls the fuck out of the ball. 50 pull, 20 air pull, 47 hard hit, 422 X-Con, 50 barrels, 13% barrel rate. So Goodman, one of the few places, if not the last spot, you could realistically hope for 30 bombs. Oh man, how did I forget this? Added this year. So if you're looking up at the screen, scroll past the splits and it'll take you to projection. So I have Derek Hardy's, the inimitable, the incomparable, the fucking massive goated Derek Hardy, my boy. His Bat X projections. I took them a half step further and I smoothed out the playing time for 600 PAs. Goodman is one of the few players like in the league projected for 30 bombs and 90 ribs on only 600 plate appearances. But you could go, and again, right now, you could think of it. People that listen to the show have at least a triple-digit IQ. Very hard for idiots to listen to the show. It's just the whole thing goes over their fucking head. How now you can sort by ADP, all the stuff I was talking about, sorting by position, sorting by cost. And then being able to look at projections if you're any good at filtering. Hold on, let's make this pick and we'll go into that then. Oh, and then I got to put a bow on the binning. Now, when you waited on some hitters, right, we're a little slow to the infield party. I try and look for pairing. Oh my gosh, I wish I didn't fucking say that because, like, I really don't love him. But I have Acuna. I need an infielder. I'm going to go Albies. You know, he had been really good. He stayed healthy. And maybe he returns to a fucking glory. But the stacking matters. Again, at the end, that's where I like to stack. I don't force them. But when I'm looking for pieces, I'd rather have... And it's a good way to get exposure to these guys. Right? I didn't overpay. Got him at cost. And it kind of makes sense, though. I wish I had maybe Riley a little earlier, but a big cost difference. You know, Albie's at pick 150. And again, he's your fifth infielder. You're only going to need a handful of scoring weeks. So let's put a bow on the positional stuff. Because the outfielders get pushed up so far, and there's only 20 picks, but 3 designations, you can't get everybody to 7, right? You can't even say, okay, I draft 7-7-7. You start 3 of each every week with 1 hitter flex. So that tells you maybe you want extra hitters. Now, to me, that's the easiest way to draw this up. 7 pitchers, 13 hitters, whether you go 7 and 6 outfield. Frankly, I have a bunch of 8-6-6 teams. Pitchers are very hard to stay healthy. And if I'm drafting hitters early, I kind of need them to stay healthy. I'm probably fucked if not. Also, there are 2 week at a time playoff format in this. A playoff format that's played 2 weeks at a time. Not to mention single weekly scoring. I think is single weekly scoring. Now I feel like a fucking idiot. Where 2 starts matter, but I'm actually going to look right now at the risk of looking like a total fucking, just an absolute fucking idiot. Yeah, it's weekly to start the week, start the year. So when you have guys, that was the point, was getting 2 starters, massive edge. More pitchers you have, more chance you have for 2 starts. But also they get hurt like crazy. So you want a 6th outfielder. Mine did not fucking fall. And I'm fucking bitter. But since I got Goodman... Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to wait for him to fall because it's time for our boy, Nicky Lodolo, at cost. You know, that's how I like to get my pitching, is I'm popping in and out of pitching. It does depend on the hitting and who falls. But again, to get Gilbert 10 picks past ADP, Ryan half a round past ADP, Yuri Perez half a round past ADP, pitching fell. I'm not going to pass on it for hitters I don't love. You know, my hitting is not at a detriment. Jazz, Ben Rice, William Contreras, Hunter Goodman, Albies I'm not crazy about, but it's a piece. Hoping 3 of those guys are good. To me, this feels like I'm going to need a 7th. Whereas outfield, Acuna, Langford, Duran, Bellinger, Grisham. I'm going to probably take 1 more. I don't like to stop at 5. Maybe I could snatch up like a Jordan Beck to go with the Hunter Goodman. Maybe that'll play. But I'm not sure. Yeah, he fell. So I'm going to go back Toolsy cores. Again, maybe you get a cores week in the playoffs. You guys go off. That's how you win the fucking... You play to win the game. $200K up top of this bitch. Just $15 to get in. 1.5. So pretty fair price point. They also have $3 contests. It's not open right now. The last one filled. But they do post them constantly. They probably have like a pace for the dinger, and then they'll do what they're trying to avoid overlay, I'd imagine. So if you're drafting any position early, another mistake I've made, so obsessed with outfielders that I took like 6 outfielders to start. You probably shouldn't do that. So obsessed with outfielders that I took like 5 outfielders to start and still wound up with 7 or 8. Also incorrect. You have to draft as if you're right. Now, you don't draft 3 outfielders because you have 3. And you could definitely twist my arm to a place that you could stop at 5 if you spent your first 5 picks. I just worry about, like, scheduling and injuries if the volume will be there. But it makes perfect sense. I don't know if I ever even leave with only 6 pitchers. I think I always have 7. And then I move that other piece around. For me, you need 7 pitchers. Especially, right? So especially where I think if we're going to win, right? If we're going to win the game, it's where we differ in ADP at the back. That's going to get us the dub. I'm known for my pitching work. You know what I'm saying? I'm just a regular fucking schmuck, but I'm good at that. And my work is in line with ADP up to a certain point. Then there is a hard disalignment that goes on. And there's like a 30, maybe 40 pick range of pitcher ADP that I'm not drafting. And I'm skipping past. And there's a ton of these guys that I even get to rotate them all the time. So there's kind of a unique element, to trying to win this also. See if I have any, I don't really have any good matches for stacking. So just kind of drafting my guys. I've been a big Shane Smith guy. I know people kind of scoff at the White Sox. Shane Smith, hashtag, really fucking good at baseball. Smith went 146 in the third as a starter in the bigs. 381, 120. ERA whip combo. Probably is a little bit heavy on the four-seamer. For me, maybe they'll throttle that. But he gets strikeouts. Now, he did have a 9.5% walk rate, but, big shaking butt. He had a 36.5 ball, which, again, should be fine. He needs to induce a few more chases. But he keeps the ball on the ground, and he keeps the ball in the yard. So I think at the back end, and you get distance from him also. I think Chicago was undergoing a bit of a, I don't know if I want to call it a renaissance, but we went from worst team in the history of ever to they're kind of interesting. Smith has 2 really good secondaries. The curveball and the change-up, sub 400 X slug, 32 whiff. Curveball, 337 slug, 48 whiff, That was the changeup. The curveball is the really, really, really big whiff, plus 13 miles an hour of disparity with all the drop from the four-seamer. I think there's room here for a Smith kind of breakout. That next level from him. Funny how we treat all these guys differently. Back to the template idea, right? We want to be consistent, if anything. So Smith was a Rule 5 pick. But he's a fucking rookie. And not only is he a rookie, he had fucking, nothings. 50, 100, less than 300 innings in the minors, maybe more like 250 before getting the Cole. So, these are the guys that I like that we've seen, skill plus growth from. Oh, you know what? I mentioned the Braves. How about we snatch up a little Drake Baldwin action? Now, I worry about his total plate appearances, but what is what it is. You know what I mean? You got to lean into this stuff. Braves go on that 2-week run with the scoring 7 or 8 runs every fucking day. Those guys are going to be at the center of it, or you hope at least. Now, I hadn't really drafted Baldwin. Like I mentioned, kind of a little worried about the PAs. He did get to 446 last year, 19 homers, no steals, 80 ribs. Again, if all the Braves are going to be back and healthy and get a boost, I think he's shown he can earn some of those DH plate appearances. Also, how are they going to treat Acuna? Who really knows? But they may want Murphy behind the dish. Sometimes maybe Baldwin gets in there. I mean, he had a 493 X-Lug, 362 X-Woba, 125 WRC+, plus, 15K to only 8.5 walk. I mean, it's awesome. I should say only 15K to 8.5 walk is what I mean. Now, the zone contact was really low, but he doesn't chase. He hits the ball really hard. We'd like a little more pull. But the barrels are there. The max velo is through the roof. And, I mean, he's a rookie also, right? He's only 24. Former third rounder. Again, I love to see that, right? We love production, pedigree plus production, and, the healthy offseason of preparation. Maybe I weigh that too much. I feel like I put enough of my work in the spreadsheets. But I don't think we give the kind of traveling and the inconsistencies and just all the ups and downs enough credit. Getting to see guys prepare and perform at a high level. So I feel a little bit better. See how I wasn't crazy about an infield situation, and I paired it to my first round pick. Not rocket science, but I think that's a decent answer. Now, we're at the back of 18. Man, I don't know. Like I said, so many of these pitchers. I've been seeing him go early. This is a total fucking vanity pick. But the Cardinals did just move on from Donovan. And by all intents and purposes, the pathway should be open to get J.J. Weatherholt in the lineup. But even if it's not to start, for that, second half push. Remember, it is playoffs. We want to be unique. And I think he adds an element of that. Weatherholt was the Cardinals' 7th overall pick in the first round of 2024. He's 23 years old. Now, it's only 2 years in the minors, but he's pretty much dominated. So this is perfect. It was like a perfect season. 622 plate appearances. 19 homers, 25 steals. He bats .304. 100 runs, 79 ribs. He should get all the opportunities. Again, like I said, I know what I'm kind of signing up for. Maybe that wasn't the right offense to do it. The right infield to do it. I'm also selling myself a little bit short. Chisholm, Rice, Contreras, and Goodman is a really good 4. Those are 4 really good hitters. The catchers get dinged, but when they get plate appearances, it doesn't matter what fucking position they play. I think that's a mistake the market is making. Now, I've seen my guy McClanahan floating around That feels like a fucking risky pick. But I used to love Shane, man. So he missed all of 24. Nah, I don't think I'm ready to go there. I'm going to look for a little more solid production. I go my guy, Cade Horton. You know, just I've relied on him all draft season as a nice late pick. Former first rounder. I have a fucking type. 267, 108 ERA whip combo. That was after shoving in the minors. I mean, there's a highly touted prospect who just showed us a really good version of himself. Again, just 24. And he had a monster run at one point. Cubs will like what they see. Now, the indicator's a little bit worse than a 253 ERA. But when he comes with a 109 whip, fucking love every bit of that. The strikeout stuff could be a little bit better, 20K, however. But remember, there's always a fucking shaking ass at the end. 11 swinging strike, 28 CSW, 68 first strike. You know, not bad. Now, a little bit much zone contact. That was a little bit high, but he keeps it down. I think same inputs get you even better run out. Well, I guess I shouldn't. The ERA was a little crazy. But I mean, I think there's breakout potential here. A lot of stuff that I like. Probably relies on the four-seamer more than I like. But the sweeper and the changeup are fucking ridiculous. And I also like that he has what I call a targeted approach, meaning he throws a sweeper to righties, then he goes to a changeup curve combo against lefties. You know, he's two different pitchers against different-handed hitters. Really a ton to like about Cade Horton. Last pick coming up. And again, I always find myself with a fucking shit ton of pitchers I'd be fine taking in the fucking last round here. Is Robbie Snelling going to crack the rotation for Miami? Or Hurston Waldrop? Ryan Weathers, Louis Hill? How about Zebby Matt? I'm going to go, how about this? Because I drafted Joe Ryan, I'm not going to call it a handcuff per se. But let's say something happens to Ryan. Should be wheels up for Zebby Matthews. Another first round. All the fucking pedigree. And he doesn't always get drafted. He's going to be unique at points. So that'll do it for the live stream. Hope you enjoy the show. I'm going to get some guests going on. We'll talk strategy stuff. I'll probably come with some... I've been doing strictly audio so I can segment it for paid stuff. But Twitter is fucking crushing my reach, so I have to beg for subscribers somehow. You know, this is a fucking life, man. Algorithmic world we live in. Sorry, let's get the fuck out of here. Hit me up if you got any questions. You know, you got a decent look at some of the tools, how we use the hitter and the pitcher stuff, how to read it. The underdog ranks, you download and upload, takes 2 seconds. The top 525, I've got the fucking lineup tool. And just all the damn things, yo. Articles, or just every fucking thing you can think of. So let's get out of here. Thank you for picking up what we're putting down here at Corked Stats. Really looking forward to the upcoming season. Remember, 5 pounds of shit in a 2-pound box. Find out what the hubbub is about. $2 a week over at Substack. Twitter handle, taking everything. Wish me luck on these FSWA. I got nominated for 4 more. That's fucking 4 noms back-to-back years, except last year. Woof. Well, you're out. So hopefully I don't hang another golden sombrero, though it's always an honor to be recognized. I do work pretty hard at everything I do. Enjoy the games. Enjoy the day. When we're done with the book, enjoy the pay. And remember, when you work this freaking hard, man, and winning feels a lot less like luck, yo.